kept pushing on, but then you went too far. When your ship has sailed and all your dreams are lost, everything is wrong, you feel like it's your fault. Just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just hold me. Just hold me. Just hold me. Just hold me. You're stronger now than you ever been. You gotta leave now, it's time to catch the wind. You will climb up high and look through the clouds. And when you're feeling low, I know you'll bounce back. Oh, and just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just hold me. Just hold me. Just hold me. Just hold me.
Go racing, boys! Oh, Jesus. Oh, God. We're good.
It was the GTLMs a couple of hours ago, but tonight it is the NASCAR stock cars. The NextGen Cup cars take center stage here at Daytona for segment number 2 of the 24 beers at Daytona. Good evening, everybody. My name is Frank Marchese. Thank you very much for joining me once again here tonight. Alongside me now, my broadcast partner, Tony Trapasso. Tony, feeling a little under the weather after a doctor's visit earlier this morning. Feeling a lot better for this one. You missed a great one here, but I think a lot of the earlier, but I think a lot of the entertainment is going to happen right here in these next-gen cars.
Well, I wanted to make sure this was, if I was going to show up for only one of the 3 segments, I wanted to make sure this was the one I showed up for. Simply because this particular car and track combination really has no business being together. Let's be honest. There's a reason why when they decided to start putting this layout in the Cup division that they put a chicane on the front stretch. I've been watching the practice speeds. These guys are hauling it off into turn number 1. They're flirting with 200 just before the braking zone.
And that's 200 because of it being an infield road course. There's no restrictor plate on these cars, so these cars are flying as fast as they possibly can. And these things are a lot bigger and a lot heavier than the GTLMs that we just saw racing around here for the last 3 hours. So you're going to have to really adjust. There was a long break with a long practice session in between here and then to get these guys acclimated, saying, okay, I can't dive into turn 1 as late as I used to. You really have to back it up in order to get these cars woed down enough to make these tight corners here.
And I don't think we can stress enough, Frank, how these cars having carbon pads with steel rotors react completely different under braking than do the GT cars or the LMPs that we're going to be seeing tomorrow with their carbon setups. These cars do not like to stop. They barely like to turn, but they definitely don't like to stop.
No, absolutely not. So it's going to take a lot of effort and a lot more time to get these things to woe down. And then you have the difficult part of trying to get these things going again, but straight. A lot of horsepower in these cars. And again, no restrictor plate in these cars, which means there's going to be even more horsepower going to those rear wheels, which means these things are going to be very, very slippery coming out of slow corners, which I think we have a couple of those here.
Yeah, you've got the International Horseshoe and the West Horseshoe. And I think you and I found out last week during the pour before the 24 with this car that first gear is pretty much a self-writing death sentence if you decide to come out of either one of those in first gear.
Yeah, it is not a fun time coming through this race course in first gear. Now, again, we are not going to be doing a qualifying session the way that we did at the beginning of race number 1, and that's because, as we had mentioned during the first segment, all of the next segments, so this one and the one tomorrow, the grid will be determined by where the driver finished in the previous race. So we'll take a look now at the starting grid here for tonight's race, and starting on the pole will be the number 57 of Emerson Arden for the HyperForce eSports race team. Max Chambers in the 24 Beers team, number 3, will line up to his outside. Sean Thompson, actually there are a couple of changes here. I'm noticing they're not necessarily lined up in the right order. We know that the White Lightning team will be starting in second. Will be starting on the inside of the second row alongside the Too Drunk to Race car. That will be row number 2. The Hutch Sports Racing team and the Light Beer Mafia will make up row number 3. The Fast Apple Flap Racing team and the Drunken Donuts team will make up row number 4. Row 5 will see Sim Racing Grid Silver team with the Left Turn Only team, number 7. That will be row 5. Door Bumper Beer Motorsports will line up next to Trash Can Racing in row number 6, as we're seeing the cars now starting to work their way around here to get this race going. As you see on your screen right now, the drivers not necessarily in their order, but at least the drivers that will be starting here in this race. We'll take a look at the weather conditions for what we have tonight. We are just a couple of minutes past 9 o'clock p.m. in sim time on this day. Tony, the temperature hasn't gone down much. It was 68 degrees at the start of the last race. It's 67 now. It was 70-degree track temperatures. It's gone down to 68, so not a lot of change other than the wind, which has picked up a little bit.
Let's just say it's a lot warmer in sim than it is on the East Coast today.
At least down in Florida, at least.
Well, all throughout the Eastern Seaboard, up here in New York, I woke up to minus 14.
Lucky you.
Yeah. Why do I live in a place where the air hurts my face?
Because you're smart, I guess, at least for my taste.
Oh, that's right. Guys built like us don't like the extra hot weather that you get down there in sunny Southern California.
No, absolutely not. As we work our way through our sighting lap here tonight, again, it is Emerson Arden in the team HyperForce machine, number 57, not only winning the last segment, but winning the cup portion, the cup class, I should say, of the Pour Before the 24 last week, as we had mentioned several times during the first segment. HyperForce sweeping all three classes in the Pour. They will be starting on pole for all three races here today and tomorrow. Did not work out well for them in the first segment as they got punted going into the International Horseshoe on the first lap, and were fighting from behind pretty much from there on after.
Well, that's usually the way it happens. You lay one down, you're hoping for a good finish, you're getting a good start, or as best a start as you can get, and then some jackwagon from behind decides to not remember what the middle of the three pedals is for.
It wasn't necessarily that. The two guys behind him ended up catching each other, and then that slid the car on the outside into him. But it wasn't an intentional thing. It was just a racing thing. But we let that slide because you weren't there for it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, folks. I was in
recovering,
bed, getting nursed back to health by my cat laying on my chest and going, "Are you okay? Shut up. Are you okay?"
No. So we getting set to go here. We spoke a lot in the last race about how much horsepower the GTLM cars create and how much they weigh. That's not going to be an issue here, as all of the Chevrolets, Fords, and Toyotas here tonight will weigh 3,500 pounds and produce 670 horsepower here tonight. So we're all on an even playing field. It's about half split between Chevrolets and Fords here, with two Toyotas in the mix here tonight as we work our way through turns 3 and 4, getting set to go for the middle of the three stages before a nice long rest over the course of the night, and then closing it out for 6 hours tomorrow in the LMP2s. But coming off of NASCAR 4, Tony, take us away.
I've been waiting all day to say this. It's time to wipe the visor and adjust the 5-point harness. Grandma, grab a nice cold beverage, because it's time to get it on for the 24th year of Daytona. Race fans, it's showtime!
3 hours here at Daytona in the Cup cars, and close running. Max Chambers on that outside line, able to keep it working. Little bit of a wiggle there. Josh Ball settling in behind number 3. Everyone gets through turn 1 okay. Big wiggle out of the 3 going into the International Horseshoe. Forces the 57 out wide, but it looks as though once again everyone making it through clean.
Number 3 was completely locked up trying to make that stick coming through the International Horseshoe as they come through the kink and into the West Horseshoe. Trying it on the outside, lock up again for the 3. He's got to be careful. These tires are not as forgiving, shall we say, as the GT tires are.
Big dive there from the 3 of Max Chambers, and he will take the race lead on the outside going on to the NASCAR Oval. An incredible move by Max Chambers, and Chambers knows what it's like to be out in the race lead here at Daytona. Led pretty much the entirety of the second hour in that Porsche as William Dove has had a spin coming back onto the NASCAR oval.
Yeah, that car is not tracking anywhere near straight anymore. And I'm not sure if it has to do with the number on the door or whether the fact that he may have hit something.
Boy, big slide. That's the 14 of Don York sliding through, and there goes the 32 of Sammy DeGroot.
DeGroot able to make that stick almost.
For the most part. As we see the 43 of Sean Thompson on the outside of Don York. Now we'll make the move going into turn number 1. Wide entry for the 43 as compared to the 14. York will make it stick on the inside line. Thompson trying to cross over. Everything clean through the first turn again.
And I think we're seeing a lot of patience being shown by a lot of these drivers deeper in the pack right now. The fact that they know they've got 3 hours to figure something out, and it still is going to come down to the 6-hour endurance race tomorrow. You know, kind of akin to the race in my neck of the woods, the 6 hours of the Glen that happens yearly. For
That's Don York hard into the wall. Didn't let off during the kink. Went into the grass, completely blew the braking zone and into the outside wall. We had mentioned during the GTLM portion that it's a pretty good thing that those cars, it wouldn't be a bad thing, I should say, taking a shot to the nose in those cars since most of them are rear-engined. Here, yeah, that's not the case anymore. You want to keep that nose as clean as you possibly can.
Exactly, and it's not uncommon, Frank, you know, during our regular oval broadcast, to see somebody take a shot to the nose, and a handful of laps later, all of a sudden you see a giant cloud of smoke coming out from underneath the car because they've cooked the oil, have cooked the water in the radiator, and the block now looks like Swiss cheese.
Do apologize for cars that are not showing as we see them on screen right now. The 69 of Brown sliding through turn 1. Bryce Hunter as well in the 6. He is now the first black car behind the 5. I did try several times to refresh the textures prior to the stream going live, and it did not go, unfortunately.
He's the only one I've got showing up like that.
And Don York coming down pit road. These drivers, as we had mentioned, these drivers, as we had mentioned, will have 10 fast repairs over the course of these 3 hours. As the front two not letting each other get too far away from each other, but setting a very nice pace as Bryce Hunter in that 6 last time around, fastest car on track at a 46.07, 46.70, pardon me.
I think you're mistaken on that one.
Bryce Hunter in the 6?
Oh, yeah, okay. Yes, you're right. I was looking at something completely different.
He's got Josh Ball in front of him as that 5 for White Lightning. Running right in front of him. A little bit of a wiggle there coming out of the grass for that White Lightning number 5. Sean Thompson still trying to work his way through as we jump on board with him behind Chase Leahy in the 25.
Leahy doing what he can to try to reel in Chief Cook series Justin Clapham. Your biggest mover right now, though, is that 5 of Josh Ball, coming to +7. Biggest mover in the positive direction.
Well, that's +7. That's +7 from where iRacing had him starting. He would have started 3rd. As we see the 63 and the 25, these two cars have direct inverse paint schemes of each other.
see
the
this.
25 in red, the 63 in black. Same paint scheme, just negatives of each other.
Makes things a little bit simpler that way.
Just a little bit. His clapper. His name showed up for all 3 hours of the 24, the first segment in the 24, but he did not run all 3 hours of the GTLM segment. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not he does run the entirety of this race or not, as Josh Ball once again coming under fire. As we start working down the gears going into the chicane. As boy, Bryce Hunter really getting a great run coming out of the chicane to the inside, looking for the final spot on the podium.
Makes the pass stick as the 5 slots behind him. Ball going to use Hunter as the drafting partner, hopefully getting a run going into 1. And you got to be careful going away. Oh, yeah, no, Ball backs out way early. And you can just see how bright these brake roads are glowing, Frank. And more so the rears than probably any other series we're going to see this weekend. Simply because that's about the only way you can get this car to really rotate is dialing in a ton of rear brake volume.
Yep, and that's exactly where these guys have it. So a lot of rear brake. You'll see those rear brake rotors glowing all night long, even needing a little bit of brake through the kink, especially as the tires start to wear, as Ball gets loose immediately on the brakes, so he doesn't do what we saw, I believe it was the 14 of Don York do earlier on. Thank you, Tony. Able to make that corner and limit the damage. Now has the 69 of William Brown behind him.
Brown's no stranger to throwing it around a road course either. I was kind of looking earlier, and he's had a lot of experience on the road courses. Kind of like yourself and myself, a fan of the road racing. Just more like me than you, is not as skilled as maybe some others. But round goes to 5, and the 69 nowhere to go.
That was too much rear brake there for Josh Ball in the 5.
Let's go open the door for the 60 of Brandon Stouffer to get to the back of Brown now.
That 60 caught up big time coming through that bit. Doesn't look to be too much damage on the front end of William Brown in the 69.
As far as contact goes, it was probably the lightest that he could have hit the 5, who was parked sideways across the front of this car.
Brandon Storer up into the 5th position, as we'll take a look and see what happened with Josh Ball. Oh, this is the earlier excursion on this lap. Able to limit the damage there, but what damage he limited just before that, he's going to end up running into again. Just too hot in the back end, steps around.
It's definitely not what you're hoping for. Is now Ball starting to feel a little bit of pressure from Sean Thompson in the 43. Able to pull away through the infield section, though.
Joshua Yarborough battling behind. Again, if you're just joining us, Joshua Yarborough, member of the Sunday Cup League that runs on Monday nights. We will be showing their weekly series, the Street Stock on Tuesday and the Super Truck Series on Wednesday night this week. So we have a lot of opportunities to see that number 77 out on the racetrack. Is just the heavy braking going into the chicane. Sean Thompson had a bit of a moment earlier on as well. This is a couple of laps ago from Sean Thompson. Once again, going into the chicane. Way, way, way too hot. goes through the grass, and that great job of evading there from Joshua Yarborough. This Connor Webb has not had the greatest of luck here in this car. Gasses it up too much, getting back out onto the oval. Also, we saw Ian Koivunen, who is a lap down right now. That's him after overshooting in the International Horseshoe. Trying to get that Yinlings number 4 back out onto the circuit. Had a solid run earlier on as one of the 2 Ferraris in the GTLM race, as these 3 go battling away for the 8th position.
And battle has not gotten too far away from each other. These guys are. You see a lot of pockets of racing starting to form, Frank, and I think we're going to see this all night long, where there's going to be 2 or 3 guys that they match up almost identical on a skill set, and it's going to come down to driver feel at that point, as Leahy and Clapper are starting to heat things up again between the 2 of them. Good thing for them that they're quasi teammates.
Justin Clapper in the 63, finishing last in the GTLM portion of the event. Chase Leahy and team and company able to bring their car from last when Leahy got in the car about 45 minutes into the race, all the way up to 11th as Joshua Yarborough looks to the outside of Sean Thompson for 9th, and Yarborough can't quite make the move stick on that outside line.
He was taking a good line. It's just, I think he was thinking to try to cross over and just use the tick too much brake, because now he's back all over the back bumper of Thompson, and then loses it on corner exit, got a little too aggressive and had to catch that Camry, and the 2 Fords are able to pull back away.
Watching there the battle between Justin Clapper and Chase Leahy. Leahy getting into the West Horseshoe a little bit too hot. Now thinks about a move to the inside of turn 7. Doesn't make it work. Trying to get the run onto the straightaway as that number 25 looking to advance forward and try to close up what has become a 6.5 second gap to the number 60 running in 5th.
Meanwhile, back in 12th, William Dove was gotten by Prince. Kevin Feemster. I'm sorry, I'm going to butcher names. I promise.
All good.
I wasn't sure if that was an RM or what, so I had to double check.
Just watching once again. Battle between Sean Thompson in the 43, Joshua Yarborough in the 77. Yarborough once again with the draft on Thompson. Once again looking to that outside just as he did the lap before. And once again not diving in quite hard enough, hoping to pull Sean Thompson off the bottom line, and unfortunately, once again, failing to do so.
Fails to do so. Frank, I think we need to talk about the elephant in the room. It's very uncommon for these cars to be seeing 197 miles an hour as they go into the braking zone going into turn 1 on the roval, if you will, here at Daytona. The fact that they're not using that front stretch chicane means that that's exactly what we're seeing here tonight. And I'll tell you, luckily we don't have to worry as much about brake fade in sim as they do in real life.
Once Justin Clapper here gets out of the chicane, we'll jump on board with him now. We'll throw the dashboard up when he comes out of here. just kind of gauge how fast he's going down into turn number 1. As here we go, down to about 105 through the chicane. And right through the gears we go. He's got an extra one. He's got another one coming. He's going to pop it right about there. 175, 180 down the straightaway. 185, 190 as we hit the tri-oval. 191 before he has to go down and start wowing that car up for turn number 1. That is pretty fast for any car to be going around a road course. As Clapper goes out a little bit wide, exiting turn number 1, Chase Leahy closes that gap right back.
It seems like Clapper is a little more efficient on the oval portion around this joint, like from oval 1 back to road course 1. Clapper seems to be better through that section. Leahy better through the inner portion of the track. So, that's fun to watch. That really is fun to watch. Seeing, okay, this guy's better here, this guy's better here, but yet their lap times are very comparable.
Chase Leahy last season during season 2 of the ThunderClap series, taking a look back, finished 7th at Circuit of the Americas, finished 13th at the Charlotte Roval, finished 10th at Road America. So the 3 road courses having pretty solid runs. Coda was by far and away his best, but Leahy was pretty much in all of those races up until the latter stages before something occurred around him, which happened more often than not last season.
Yeah, and where he finished in the point standings is not indicative to the skill level behind that wheel. It's just victim of circumstance. Same thing goes for Clapper too. More times than not, Clapper was caught up in someone else's dumpster fire than anything he caused on his own. As well, I stand corrected. Thanks for proving me wrong, Justin. Appreciate it.
Best finish for Chase Leahy last season as these two continue to go side by side down towards the International Horseshoe, and it will be Clapper taking it once again. So the 63 will stay ahead of the 25. Best finish for Chase Leahy in the championship last season was finished 5th twice in the second round of the season at Phoenix, and then on the dirt at Bristol Motor Speedway. Both of those races were in the trucks, and to your point, going back to Justin Clapper, his best finish was 3rd. That was the final race before the playoffs began at Richmond. Also finished 4th at Pocono in the middle of the 3rd round of the playoffs last season.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you've got, 2 Type A personalities like that, you could hear towards the end of the season, you could hear the frustration in both their voices whenever you spoke to either one of them. What do I got to do to get that breakthrough? Well, you've got to be right place, right time, basically.
And sometimes all you have to do is just wait until next season, because things can certainly change once the season switches over. Currently working lap number 12 here of the 24 beers at Daytona, 20 minutes into the night. Max Chambers holding a 5.2 second lead over Emerson Arden, who won the Cup class in the 24 beers, the pour before the 24 last weekend. Started on pole, led for all of about the first couple of corners before he lost the lead, and Chambers set sail. Now, while he might be down 5 1/4 seconds on Max Chambers, he is 8 1/4 seconds ahead of this pair. This is Bryce Hunter in the 6th, the first of the 2 black cars on track, and William Brown the first in the number 69 in the 2nd of the 2 black cars. Brandon Stower in the 5th position, 7.5 seconds behind the top, behind third and fourth, I should say. And then the battle we were just watching, Chase Leahy has finally gotten around Justin Clapper, and Justin Clapper doing what he did in the GT Le Mans cars earlier on today, sliding it, coming back onto the oval.
And that's not what you need to be doing at all. As a matter of fact, he just hemorrhaged quite a few spots there. Went from battling with Chase Leahy for 6th and 7th down to 10.
So unfortunate there for Justin Clapper, as Josh Ball still in close quarters, not necessarily battle with, but certainly close quarters with Sean Thompson. So really the two battles that we've watched all race long were that battle between Chase Leahy and Justin Clapper, and these two, Josh Ball versus Sean Thompson.
Yeah, those are going to be some of the battles that we're going to be able to see all night long here. Is, you know, Ball and Thompson have not gotten away from each other at all. Matter of fact, they're starting to reel in on Leahy now. You know, being as he was watching what happened with Clapper and gave up a little bit of time. So now it's a 3-car tango for 6th, 7th, and 8th. You know, and, you know, give Clapper time. He's probably going to be back in that mix before the end of this race.
Certainly will be. Speaking of the White Lightning team and Josh Ball, Greg Maconi running the entirety of the GTLM portion of the race. Josh Ball, Justin White, and last year's ThunderClap champion Roger DeBold will be piloting both this car and the LMP tomorrow morning to take us to the end of this 24 Beers event, as Brandon Stower has gotten past Bryce Hunter. We'll see how that happened, as Bryce Hunter having a little bit of an issue getting back onto the oval. He got passed up by William Brown and by Stower, and that is how.
The biggest key and the biggest takeaway about tonight is you have to mitigate the self-inflicted wounds. And the vast majority of passes that we have seen tonight have been because of self-inflicted wounds, blowing braking zones, being too aggressive on the front, being in the wrong gear, coming out portions of the infield. You know, and that's going to be something these guys are really going to have to be mindful of. They're going to have to work on it all night long, as Storr goes way wide in the International Horseshoe.
And that will bring Bryce Hunter back through. As honestly, I'm thinking that the reason why the paint is not showing is because Hunter's name is not over the window. I think it's the right person has to be in the car in order for the paint to show up, and then I think it will the rest of the way. This is Connor Webb who is having an issue. This is live. As Connor Webb spinning, getting back out onto the racetrack. We'll see. He has had an absolute mare of a first 25 minutes.
Not the first time he's done that exact same move.
Nope. Saw Justin Clapper just do the same thing, and that was right in front of the leader as well. Or second place, pardon me. As William Dove has gone around as well. This was earlier on, a couple of laps ago. 420 was working well when it was a Porsche earlier on today. Too much gas coming out of the International Horseshoe.
I think if you look, that was the wrong gear as well.
Chase Leahy, Josh Ball, Sean Thompson.
Oh, just got it wrong again going into the International Horseshoe.
So guys having issues left and right here. As we take a look at the battle for the 6th position, Chase Leahy has it. Josh Ball and Sean Thompson have caught up quite significantly to that number 25 and are looking to get it back. And boy, Josh Ball hitting that pit wall, trying to get to the left side of Chase Leahy did not work, and fortunately didn't lose enough time for Sean Thompson to capitalize.
Well, Thompson was out of control as well. You know, he had to really jam on the binders to stay off the two cars in front of him going through there. But Leahy able to pull a gap going into the west end of the horseshoe as Ball going to regroup and make another shot at him, coming back out onto the oval.
Riding on board with Josh Ball right now. As you see Chase Leahy getting way wide, coming out of the infield section, going into NASCAR 1.
I'm glad to see I'm not the only one that calls it that. Because we grew up on the 24 hours of Daytona.
Yep.
And that's what they called it. You know, it was before the NASCAR cars ran the road course regularly.
So we'll call it the NASCAR backstretch, then it'll be the IMSA chicane, then into NASCAR 3, and let's label each corner, why not?
Well, no, it's NASCAR 1 and 2, the super stretch, the bus stop, NASCAR 3 and 4, and then the infield.
Riding on board with Chase Leahy going into turn 1.
Boy.
Ball getting really deep in there, almost contact. Boy, Ball really made up a lot of ground on the brakes. Side-by-side racing here, going through turns 2 and 3. Ball doesn't clip the pit wall this time and will take that 6th position.
Or Leahy let him go because I don't think he wanted to really keep an eye on Ball in his rear mirror. He wants to focus on what's going through the windshield and focusing on his race as opposed to what Ball's doing behind him.
Not a bad idea, I would
especially
say.
Only about 30 minutes into this piece.
So as we were noting earlier on tonight, we were just a couple of subs away from the 3,000 mark. When we last left you, we were at 2,996 subs. We were 4 subs away. And between the start of the Dynasty race and the start of our one-off event and the start of this race, we have eclipsed that 3,000 sub mark. We do appreciate everyone who has subscribed to this channel. We're at 3,008 at the moment, and we certainly would not be here right now calling this race for you guys if it wasn't for the 3,008 of you that have subscribed and the, I'm sure, thousands more that watch these races that have not hit that subscribe button. So another major goal reached here tonight, and we thank you all very much for helping us make that goal over the last 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, when this company started, if you would have told me that was going to be the case here just this short amount of time later, and my thoughts short amount of time later, I would have said you were nuts. And problems on the 420 of Dove, that is Bluetooth right front suspension, Frank.
Oh, and comes out, collides side to side with Joshua Yarborough and the 53 of Connor Webb going for a ride as well.
That could have ended a whole lot more poorly than it did, but I mean, yes, we still had, 3 cars getting into each other, but in Dove's defense in the 420,
you see it there on the replay.
I don't think he realized what the problem was till he already had company behind him.
And that's a rather sharp re-entry onto the racetrack, as we'll take a look here from Connor Webb's perspective. There's or contact's already happened there, as he's now just trying to keep the car on the racetrack. And while this was going on, Don York in the sister left turns only car trying to allow the second place runner to go through, just completely blows the chicane, and yes, there are tire barriers there now.
Not a bad idea.
certainly was a bad idea for old Don York there.
Yeah, because it's so easy to get caught in that tire wall on the backstretch. But checking back in, Ball has caught the 60th store.
Yep. Looking at it right now. 60 running in the 5th position. Josh Ball and Chase Leahy both have caught him. Sean Thompson 2.5 seconds behind as, there goes the 60 off into the grass. Does he blow the corner? No, he does not. Very hard on the brakes.
I don't think you're live, bud.
No, I'm live. As going on to the big oval once again, another little slip and slide. As Storer making his way through NASCAR 2. Ball not quite close enough to be able to make a move. You wouldn't think, at least, going into the chicane. Definitely coming out of it, though, as Ball sticks the nose in there going into the chicane. They both make contact, and they both lose it.
That's going to open the door for Leahy to get back by these guys, considering he's the only one of the three that's not going to have a slowdown penalty right now.
There goes Leahy past the 60. The 43 of Sean Thompson going forward as well, as Josh Ball has gotten that number 5 back up to speed. The 25 of Leahy on the outside line. Not quite the preferred line going into the next corner, but I'm sure good enough for the moment. Boy, he really dove it in there, and he's going to make it stick for the most part. Can't get out of it, though, with the position.
I'm surprised Ball was able to get that car back up to speed as quickly as he was.
Storer now trying to put Chase Leahy under pressure.
Storer's in the grass.
That he is. Boy, that's through the kink, or that's coming out of the International Horseshoe, going into the kink, so that was late. The latter stages of the acceleration there.
Yeah, but that all started from center off. He was in the wrong gear again. And that's been the bane of some of these guys' existence tonight, as we got a battle heating up for 11th, Frank.
That's on board with Josh Ball trying to get through the chicane there. We'll take a look at it from above here. As Ball went to the inside of Storer, Storer just clipped that right rear corner, and both of them went in. Now those two have settled themselves down a little bit. Chase Leahy is starting to get away from the 43 as well. What we're going to do is we're about halfway through our first run of commentary. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. You are watching the 24 Beers at Daytona segment number 2 in the Next Gen Cup cars here at Daytona. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. And we've showed you guys a lot over over the course of the day. The special tribute that's being run on the 25 car here tonight. And what we're going to do right now is we are going to go down to Bo Condon for a special word. We'll be right back after this.
On January 22nd, my wife and I sadly made the hard decision to give our newly adopted dog, Trooper, the uninterrupted rest he so desperately needed. Trooper suffered from idiopathic epilepsy, but never let the condition change who he was. In the short 2-month time that Trooper was with us, he became a forever part of our family. Trooper was a goofy, curious, kind, and loving dog with much life to live and love to give. Unfortunately, Trooper's seizure clusters had become too hard a battle to overcome in a very short period of time. Trooper was only 2 years old. In Trooper's honor, I've launched the Two More for Trooper campaign. For every driver in the 24 Beers of Daytona who drinks 2 more beers than their mandatory 12, I will donate $10 to the American Kennel Club Canine Health Foundation's Epilepsy Research Initiative. As an added kindness, driver and fellow admin Damian Neeson and his wife have decided to match the donation amount raised for the event. I thank every driver who is taking part in this campaign, and I want everyone to know that through all that he had to endure, Trooper did not give up. He never stopped fighting. He forever loved, and until the very end, he was a real Trooper.
Back at the Daytona International Speedway, as we just went through the pit cycle while we were on break, Emerson Arden coming out with the race lead after the number 3 team did not just a 4-tire and fuel stop, they also did a driver change. Oliver Kemp, who crossed the line in second during the GTLM segment, now in the car after only about 35 minutes, after about a 35-minute opener. A couple of other driver changes to note. Adam Wright is now piloting the number 32. Damian Neeson is now piloting the 420. And I believe that is it. So a lot of guys going to do a double stint here before handing the reins off. We know Arden is going to be running the entire stint here. However, boy, big wiggle there. Not quite sure who is going to be doing the same for their respective team.
I think the biggest thing that shocked the two of us during that grouping of pit stops is how many teams electing to double stint tires.
Yep.
You know, with this NASCAR compound, normally you don't see anybody attempting to double stint tires.
Sure. Well, fortunately, if you stuck around for the end of the race, for the post-race interview with Oliver Kemp after the GTLM race, he brought to our attention that the reason why he came in during that last segment is because his crew chief, quote unquote, only had the team change one of his 4 tires prior to him getting into the car. Fortunately for him, that's not an option in these cars. You either change 4, 2, or none. Wonder how many tires Oliver had swapped on his car prior to this stint starting.
We can only guess. The way he's handling that car right now, I would assume all 4. And judging by the time that it took to do that pit service and driver swap, I would dare say they did do all 4, as did the other 2 teams that did their driver swaps during that pit road melee.
There you see, big wiggle there out of the 3 of Kemp, but there you see the pit stop times for the top 10 as we got a big little gaggle of cars here. Adam Wright now piloting that number 32, a big wiggle out of Kevin Feemster in the number 12. Feemster did not run during the GT Le Mans portion of the race. Getting his first glimpses. What was that?
That's 3rd place behind them.
Yep, that is Bryce Hunter in the 6 behind those 2. So a couple of guys on screen right now getting their first bit of race time tonight. The 12 of Feemster as well as Bryce Hunter.
I think the 6 of Hunter is going to need a new fire suit after Adam Wright is sideways coming out of the bus stop.
Take a look and see what happened there to Adam Wright. Just caught that curb and it threw the back end around.
It's like the race Jason and I did this past Thursday at the Oval at Charlotte. Sausage curbs are not your friends, contrary to popular belief. Sausage rolls? Hey, I'm all for it. Sausage curbs? Not so much, as somebody...
Yeah, that's the 77 of Joshua Yarborough, who was just coming out of pit road.
Gold tires.
Yep. Tried to send it into the International Horseshoe, and boy, did he send it all right.
Something might be broke on that car.
Yarborough has not had the best of luck here today. Finished towards the back in the first race. And now towards the back here.
Gets up and out of the way of Sean Thompson, though, so, very sportsman-like racing once he realized he had a lead lap car right behind him. Oh, more troubles.
Clipped that curb again on the inside and threw him around. That'll send Josh Ball on through, and Yarborough not having the best of runs here after this pit stop. His second pit stop of the day on fresh tires. And for Yarborough, right now running where he finished in the last race, P12.
Yeah, it's kind of funny considering that the opening few laps of this race, Yarborough and Ball were going after each other for position.
Yep.
And now here's Yarborough a lap down to ball, and you got to feel for the guy. You really do.
As Justin Clapper on track right now, might have had a spin coming back onto the NASCAR oval. Going through the kink. Nope, no, not an off through the kink. Western Horseshoe maybe. Western Horseshoe. Stopped it, kept it from going on the grass. All in all, what we were talking about before, limiting damage made by mistakes or caused by mistakes, did so perfectly there.
It's as far as self-inflicted wounds, that was probably as well as that could have gone. You know, once you make the mistake, realizing it early enough, and it's the 12 having issues.
Now getting past that is for position between the 12 and the 32. As Feemster with a slide. See what happened here to Kevin. Big slide coming out of the Western Horseshoe. And then going back onto the track. He's got him locked down. Nose into the tire wall.
And we might have our first casualty of the night, Frank, as the 32 of Wright having single-digit quality with 4-digit ping. I don't think he's much longer in here. He's completely gone off camera.
Yeah, Adam Wright did not participate in the GTLM portion, so this is the first time we are seeing him tonight for that Fast Apple Flap Racing team, and unfortunately it's going to have to be him and Sammy DeGroot because unfortunately Jesper Zanel, who ran a good portion of that race in the number, I believe it was the number 32 Ferrari earlier on today, his mother unfortunately was rushed to the hospital in between the two stints, so Jesper Zanel will not be here for this race, and of course we are hoping for the best.
And it's official, Wright just had a throughput.
So there goes Adam Wright, which means if DeGroot is here, he can jump right back into that car after a tow time. But other than that, yeah, that really does put the 32 behind the 8 ball. We had all 16 drivers finish, or all 16 cars, I should say, finish during the GTLM segment. As we see Oliver Kemp, who is playing cat and mouse with the lap times. He's quicker than the 57 lap and then slower as he tries to work his way back up into the race lead in that number 3.
Yeah, he's just biding his time right now. Oi!
Big wiggle. He's really pushing that car right now.
Forget what I said about biding his time. He's not biding anything. He's trying to get after it. He knows he's got the fresher tires of the two, but he'll crank one off and then back it off a little bit. Crank one off and back it off a little bit. I mean, that team currently has the fastest lap of this segment right now with a 1:45.74. Almost a half a second quicker than just about anybody else has gone.
Only driver to be in the 1-minute 45-second bracket is this team. As we ride on board with Oliver Kemp as he gets back onto the NASCAR oval. There's the banking coming into play. As we sit on top of the dash. While we were looking at him, there is the 4 of Ian Koivunen, and part of the reason why he is where he is right now is because of this incident between Adam Ross and I believe John Barry, the 2 left turn only motorsport cars. There goes the 53 around. Koivunen, actually that's, there goes Koivunen sliding off, and then John Barry doing the same thing.
Like could have ended a whole lot more poorly than it did is John Barry now comes to the pits.
Koivunen in as well.
Koivunen.
So the top, big wiggle there from Oliver Kemp. You saw it there in the background, having to cut through the grass going through the second corner. Oliver Kemp using all of those tires that he could possibly muster right now.
You got to wonder what's going to happen at the hour mark. When he's got to bring that car back down again for pit service. I don't know how much tire is going to be left under the race.
I'm not sure, as he is really wearing the rubber down. Take a look at Bryce Hunter.
Do you think his team did it to him?
I don't think
if you look at where he's struggling, it's on the left-handers.
Would be quite interesting. Now, again, a 31-second stop would have meant fuel only in the GTLMs. However, that is a 4-tire stop, about double time in one of these cars. And you know what? Actually, because of that, they all did. I'm so used to looking at pit times for... I'm so used to looking at pit times for the GTLMs. All of these guys took 4 tires and fuel. All the drivers that didn't swap took 4 tires.
What you were talking about, but I was going to let you go with it.
Yeah, I didn't even...
The only one is Kemp had to have done something different.
Well, Kemp, it would have been the driver change because...
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Because if you look at...
He and Yarborough are the only two that have done a driver change.
No, Yarborough's been in the whole time. Yarborough was another one of the drivers that went... Good.
Why was he 3160 in his box?
Might have been...
Wasn't damage repair.
No, I know he's the only driver on the team that I know of. We didn't see anyone running with him earlier on today. And looking back through...
He's the only one for that team in the session.
Yeah, the Trash Can Racing. He's the only one on the team as far as I can tell. So Yarborough running in the 10th position right now is that number 77. There he is on track, right behind Josh Ball. Ball running in the 6th position at the moment. He is 5 seconds behind Sean Thompson for 5th. Chase Leahy is 13.5 seconds adrift from this number 5. There is Leahy.
And Frank, we do have another retirement to speak of. The team of Don York and John Barry have decided to put it on the hauler.
And that would be York and Barry. That would be left turn only motorsports number 7.
Correct. Which is actually being scored as the number 14 here tonight.
Yes, which is the number 14. Well, the team name is number 7, not the car number. And it also looks like left turn only has completely split the building as well, because Adam Ross is being shown as done as well.
Right. The only other person that they've got available is Connor Webb. Webb is still here. The rest of Left Turn Motorsports is gone.
Sammy DeGroot, by the way, is in that number 32. So the Fast Apple Flap Racing team has their entry still out on track. So 14 drivers on circuit right now. And again, didn't expect too many retirements, what with the 10 fast repairs that these guys have on offer. But still, these Cup cars will take a lot out of you, and I think this is why they put this as the final stint before the nighttime rest. This is a brutal car to have to sling around here for 3 hours.
It absolutely is, and definitely, whoever drew the short straw to run this segment of the race, my hat's off to all the drivers.
Again, Emerson Arden, we know, is going to run the entirety of this segment in the 57. Joshua Yarborough as well, we know he is going to run the entirety of this segment. Justin Clapper in the 63, again, his name was on timing and scoring the entirety of the GTLM segment. However, he was not the one in the seat the whole time. Chase Leahy did about an hour and a half in the GTLMs as Kevin Feemster getting around Damian Neeson in the 420, though that is not for position between those two. Neeson a lap behind the 12.
There's a lot of separation in this field right now.
Yep, and this was not just the hardest car to drive, and it was because of that fact that this was also going to be the race with the biggest performance gap out of him, because you need to really have skill and be on the wheel, not only one, to just drive this car fast, but two, to do something as simple as keeping it on the road for 3 hours.
Which is not an easy task, especially with, this particular car. And, the good news is I'm looking through this field. It's a pretty close balance as far as skill sets. Most of the field hovering just under the 2,000 mark for iRatings. A couple of outliers, Ross and Feemster being the two that are sub 1,000. But everybody else, it's looking like your last report card, Frank. Quite a few A's, a couple of B's, a couple of C's, and a D.
I wish that was my last report card, if I'm honest. Oliver Kemp in the second position. He's 5 seconds behind that number 57, who is out in front in the race lead. Now, this team, prior to that driver swap, was out in front by a good 5 or 6 seconds, and it was because of the 15 seconds longer in the pit box as to how they swapped positions and swapped gaps between the two cars. And I'm sure that Emerson Arden, he's not going to lose that time because he's not going to be swapping, but still the pit stops and the pit cycle and the way it's going to work out is going to bring everyone a little bit closer together, especially if guys start making mistakes trying to push too hard on fresh tires.
Yeah, but Frank, you know as well as I do, and we've seen it time and time again across every series we broadcast in the iRacing servers. The undercut with fresh tires is so huge. Mm-hmm. So whoever can get on and off pit road cleanly and mitigate the mistakes on those cold tires. I mean, you're going to need at least a full lap before you can really start dancing on the pedals again. Whoever can mitigate those mistakes and mitigate the small errors, we're going to see some huge jump between the cars.
Absolutely. This is Bryce Hunter running in the third position. And also the one thing to keep in mind, something that we saw 3 times in the GT Le Mans series, the GT Le Mans segment, that caution can come out at any time and wreak havoc with this running order and bring everyone right back to an even playing field, right on the back of each other. So we are an hour in to this middle segment, and what we will do the same thing we did during the GT Le Mans segment, is we will step aside for about an hour. We will come back at 11:10 p.m. Eastern Time, and take you the rest of the way here from the Daytona International Speedway. You are watching segment 2 of the 24 Beers at Daytona. Emerson Arden out in front with 2 hours to go.
On January 22nd, my wife and I sadly made the hard decision to give our newly adopted dog, Trooper, the uninterrupted rest he so desperately needed. Trooper suffered from idiopathic epilepsy, but never let the condition change who he was. In the short 2-month time that Trooper was with us, he became a forever part of our family. Trooper was a goofy, curious, kind, and loving dog with much life to live and love to give. Unfortunately, Trooper's seizure clusters had become too hard a battle to overcome in a very short period of time. Trooper was only 2 years old. In Trooper's honor, I've launched the 2 More for Trooper campaign. For every driver in the 24 Beers of Daytona who drinks 2 more beers than their mandatory 12, I will donate $10 to the American Kennel Club Canine Health Foundation's Epilepsy Research Initiative. As an added kindness, driver and fellow admin Damian Neeson and his wife have decided to match the donation amount raised for the event. I thank every driver who is taking part in this campaign, and I want everyone to know that through all that he had to endure, Trooper did not give up. He never stopped fighting. He forever loved, and until the very end, he was a real Trooper. On January 22nd, my wife and I sadly made the hard decision to give our newly adopted dog, Trooper, the uninterrupted rest he so desperately needed. Trooper suffered from idiopathic epilepsy, but never let the condition change who he was. In the short 2-month time that Trooper was with us, he became a forever part of our family. Trooper was a goofy, curious, kind, and loving dog with much life to live and love to give. Unfortunately, Trooper's seizure clusters had become too hard a battle to overcome in a very short period of time. Trooper was only 2 years old. In Trooper's honor, I've launched the 2 More for Trooper campaign. For every driver in the 24 Beers of Daytona who drinks 2 more beers than their mandatory 12, I will donate $10 to the American Kennel Club Canine Health Foundation's Epilepsy Research Initiative. As an added kindness, driver and fellow admin Damian Neeson and his wife have decided to match the donation amount raised for the event. I thank every driver who is taking part in this campaign, and I want everyone to know that through all that he had to endure, Trooper did not give up. He never stopped fighting. He forever loved, and until the very end, he was a real Trooper.
Back live here at the Daytona International Speedway for the 24 Beers of Daytona. We are 5 hours down of this 12-hour event. And right now, Emerson Arden for the HyperForce team currently leads by 1 minute, 2 seconds in quite the turn of events here. Not too much going on. We had a couple of battles over the course of the second hour. The number 3, the 24 Beers team, has pulled off and retired. For what reason, we're not entirely sure. We know that some of the drivers there are in the UK, so it may be a time difference, guys trying to get to sleep. So that might be why they gave up on this one. But right now, if you go back to the pour before the 24 and during the GTLM segment last time around a couple of hours ago, HyperForce eSports has taken the 24 Beers of Daytona, Tony, by storm.
They absolutely have, and you kind of were expecting something to pop off. You know, there's always that one team that shows up and they're a monster. And I dare say HyperForce really threw the gauntlet down of, hey, road racing, that's our shtick.
Emerson Arden has been in the car the entire run and will continue to be in the car for the remainder of this race. These guys should have one, maybe two more pit stops here left to do as we work lap 72 of this event. All but the 3 cars on the podium right now. William Brown in the number 69 and Josh Ball in the 5. Those are the only 2 other drivers besides the leader who are still on the lead lap. We have had multiple driver changes. The drivers currently in the top 5 have not swapped, and I think part of the reason why is because there is a 15 seconds added to your pit stop time if you decide to do a driver swap. So that could be part of the reason why. Dominique Cahart, currently running in the 6th position, is now piloting that number 25 that Chase Leahy started the night in. Charles Caneda, there you see him in the number 12. He is in pit road. He started the GTLM segment earlier on. This is his 2nd stint now. Michael Rupp is behind the wheel of the 60. Justin Clapper, Joshua Yarborough, as we expected, are still in their respective cars. William Dove is back in his car after a stint by Neeson earlier on. Merle Eschman now piloting the number 4. Sammy DeGroot back in the number 32. And those are your 13 cars that are currently still circulating around this racetrack. Adam Ross, John Barry, done after 24 and 26 laps. So both of the left turn only motorsports cars are out, as well as Max Chambers in that number 3 team, which is a disappointment, especially since they were running in 2nd and finished 2nd earlier today.
I think that it started to get to that team of, you know, hey, what do we got to do to get by these guys from HyperForce? And I don't think there's anything you can do. Wait for them to make a mistake, which unfortunately has not happened yet. You know, and they're probably just getting ready to get a good night's rest, come back for the 6-hour tomorrow in the LMP2s, and, you know, let that car eat.
William Brown is really treading water right now in this number 69. He was about 2.5 seconds slower on that last lap than the 5 of Josh Ball. He did have a little bit of an off, but that was a couple of laps ago. So it shouldn't have been anything too damaging, but that gap now for 3rd position between the number 69 and the number 5 is closing rapidly.
Oh, problems in front of them, too.
Yep, that's with the 60 and the 420. And that will close the gap up even more as the 5 gets through it a lot easier than the 69 did, as now White Lightning starting to make a charge for 2nd.
The thing to keep in mind, too, Frank, is that White Lightning car has 7-lap newer tires on it, which, granted, doesn't sound like much in the world of endurance racing, but these aren't endurance racing cars or endurance racing tires. these are a much, much softer compound than a lot of the road course ringers are used to running. It's very easy to get these tires all wrong as Clapper has problems.
Yep, Justin Clapper, he had gone around a couple of times during our little break here as the textures reload here, so just bear with us for one moment. William Brown still in that car. As Brown really having to put the grip between his teeth here. These are the two cars that finished third and fourth in the GT Le Mans race earlier on today. Brown in that too drunk to race machine coming home in fourth. Greg Maconi in the White Lightning car rounding up in third.
And if you ask Greg, he'll be the first not a big road course prowess guy, as the 69 of Brown blows turn one's entry and really lets Ball get right back to his back bumper to head into the International Horseshoe. But, Maconi, arguably not really a road course guy. I'll tell you what, I'll be willing to call baloney on that, because he's got road course prowess. Looks like William Dove having issues.
Yeah, William Dove having issues, as we saw on the short side of the screen there, going through the International Horseshoe, is Josh Ball really putting the pressure on this number 69. Emerson Arden, a minute and 6 seconds clear of these two. As we throw the track map up, look for your favorite driver's number. That is where he is on the racetrack, and you can see, find that number 57 going through the kink right now. That is where he is in relation to where these two are going. The first two cars going down the back straightaway into the chicane.
You figure he's just about half a lap to the clear of these guys. And if you take a look at the pit deltas, to just do a tire and fuel stop, it's 52 to 53 and a half seconds from cone to cone. Arden has over a pit stop to the clear.
And that's assuming that you're taking a full load of fuel, as Sean Thompson in and out of pit road in the number 43. There he is coming out in that Sim Racing Grid Team Silver entry. Not a bad run for Thompson and team. Pinder drove most of the race in the GT Le Mans earlier on, finished 9th. Their car certainly had a lot better pace than that, had qualified in 5th for that race, as just behind him comes the battle for second, as Brown really taking a wide arc into that West Horseshoe. Josh Ball coming through a little flatter.
Coming through that West Horseshoe, Brown, I'm liking what Brown is doing. He's trying to do a late apex to get that corner, to be able to get that corner as straight as possible on exit. Whereas Ball is trying to arc the corner, float it in there, and, that's the advantage that Brown is getting. He's able to get a much better drive out of there and start to pull a little bit of a gap on Ball. Now, Ball is able to draft down the super stretch leading into the bus stop, but he's not close enough to make anything happen to it.
Fastest car on the racetrack is running in black. However, it is not the 69, it is the 6. Now, he's caught in traffic here, but the last lap, he was the only driver in the 1 minute 46 second bracket, and it was by a comfortable margin. A 1 minute 42.24 was the lap time for the driver of the number 6, who you're seeing on screen right now. William Brown had the second fastest lap the last time around, and it was a 47.4. So about over a second quicker was that 6 the last lap.
And that's impressive. This deep into a run is right now he's all over the back of Clapper's machine. Actually, he's in He's in a sandwich between the 63 and the 25, but not for long.
The 63 and 25, as we had mentioned, are exact inverts of each other. They are on two different teams. Mid-Pack Motorsports is what the 63 has aligned himself with, and it's that the Bumper Door Beer Motorsports.
Door Bumper Beer.
Door Bumper Beer. I knew I had that wrong once I started saying it.
As opposed to what you'll hear a spotter say a lot of times, in a NASCAR race, door quarter clear.
Door, corner, inside.
Door bumper beer.
Watch for the inside wall. We're in it, boys.
And, I like the fact that, these guys from the ThunderClap Stock Car Racing Series put on these events, because the grind that most of these, I call them drivers, their 9-to-5 job is working on in the shop and then pitting the car on weekends in NASCAR's top 3 touring divisions, the trucks, the Xfinity, and the Cup Series. And the fact that, this is how they blow off steam and, tip their hand to possibly future Alcoholics Anonymous meetings.
I mean, that's...
Just remember, though, AA's for quitters.
Exactly. As William Brown and Josh Ball still continuing to go at it. Ball not quite able to get in a good attacking position, even though Brown is slipping up. And we saw earlier on, towards the beginning of that hour that we let you enjoy the sights and sounds of the Daytona International Speedway, that we saw that 69 getting very, very rear end happy and really allowing that car to float around this racetrack, and that was prior to the pits. He's starting to float around again.
He is, and that a lot of that has to stem back to he's got some of the oldest tires on track currently, and he's starting to struggle. He's getting close to his next green flag pit stop, and if you're Josh Ball, Josh Ball's team has to be telling him this. As far as looking at pit strategies, looking at the last time everybody was down pit road and going, okay, pressure him but don't overdrive the car because he's going to have to come in before us.
And they are all in that chat as well. As you see the pit stop lap for the drivers in the top 5. Arden coming in on lap 60, Brown on 56. And now here comes William Brown down pit road.
Dominic Cahart having problems.
Yep.
Big problem.
Ball's teammate, Michael Zuver, as we'll take a look at Dominic Cahart, as there he is coming back out on the racetrack. Michael Zuver did run a good portion of the GTLM class race earlier on, as this is what happened with Cahart coming back out onto the oval, it would appear. In between 6 and 7, and yep, too much rear brake, slid the car through.
And that's tire wall. Never a good sign.
At least he didn't hit it, as there goes William Brown out for what he would hope is going to be his final stop. Now, the first run of pit stops was about 35 minutes into this race. Oh, that one almost ended William Brown's day. That was the 12 of Charles Caneda riding himself back on the racetrack. And that got close between the two.
Next pit stop, he's probably going to have to change the fire suit.
He's hoping he doesn't have to make another one. As I was saying, it was about 35 minutes was the first stint of pit stops, and he came in with about 38 and a half minutes to go, so he might be a lap or two short of making this finish.
Well, that's the good part about a road course as opposed to ovals.
A lot of ways you could save.
there's a lot of ways you can save 2, 3, 4 laps. You know, and the fact that the lap times around here are just shy of the 2-minute mark, you know, all he's got to do is save a lap and a half, and he's golden.
That was Sammy DeGroot.
Short shift the car. Don't, you know, use the gears to slow the car down. Use the brakes a little more. Let the car float a little more. Lift a little bit earlier. Ease into the throttle. Short shift it. You know, don't run it all the way to, you know, until it start to gag and start to lean it over, or start to go over on you. You know, there's a lot of things you can do. As 77 having issues, that's Josh Yarborough having issues going through turn 1 again.
We were just watching Sammy DeGroot's intriguing interpretation of track limits. This is Michael Rupp sliding through turn 1. And then Joshua Yarborough going into turn 1, not that long after him. Really blew turn 1 out all the way to the other end of the circuit.
You know, I just looked at the pit stop that the 69 team just laid down. That's one of the fastest stops of this segment.
12.88 seconds stationary in the box, 52.2 seconds from cone to cone.
They did go 4 in fuel, so that's a stop, my friend. That's top tier, you know, Joe Gibbs A-team type of stuff.
Sean Thompson, at least from what we can see, has the fastest stop on the day at a 12:35, and that was 4 tires and fuel. As Sammy DeGroot once again finding creative ways to get around this racetrack. As Justin Clapper, see Justin Clapper's slow in the background. This is why he was as off the pace as he was. This is behind Josh Ball. And Clapper too hot, just about clipping the back end of that number 5. And also just about clipping that tire wall as the race leader, Emerson Arden, coming down pit road.
This is definitely going to be money stop for Arden's team. You know, that Abruzzi 57 has just been on kill since the word go this afternoon.
As you had mentioned before, this is effectively a freebie for him, since he was about 1 minute and 8 seconds clear of Josh Ball, and it's one of the bigger things that these guys probably had to get used to tonight after the GT Le Mans cars not having a pit limiter on these things. I'm surprised it didn't catch as many people out as it could have, and I honestly don't think we've seen a speeding on or off penalty here tonight at all.
Not that I noticed, but there were some times when I wasn't looking when we were just giving you sights and sounds as we both took a break there for the first hour. But yeah, I mean, hats off to everybody that has driven in this segment. Let's be honest, Frank, if your team only wants you to drive just one segment and you drew the short straw for this car, this segment is sending the message of who you're going to have to go through to get the overall victory in the 24 Beers of Daytona. You know, as HyperForce, yes, they dominated the first segment. So far, they've been pretty much unaccosted during this segment. You know, but it is still going to come down to the 6-hour endurance tomorrow of, oh no, Arden has issues going through the bus stop.
It's the first mistake he's made tonight, and fortunately he's got himself about a 23-second buffer to be able to make that mistake, and that's fresh tires for that number 57, as we'll see what happened.
You could see him doing what he can to try to get some heat into those shoes.
Just Just too late on the brakes. And right on through he went.
I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that now he's got a full boat of fuel. He was almost bingo the previous few laps. Now the center of gravity is shifted in that car. Full load of fuel, fresh tires, and it really changes how these cars react.
Speaking of a full load of fuel, Sean Thompson came in 7 seconds worth of fuel, so he's good to go the rest of the way. The number 25 is in pit road. That is no longer being piloted by Dominic Cahart. That is now being piloted by Bo Condon, who drove the first 40 minutes of the GTLM stint. Charles Caneda still in the number 12. Joe Hutchings now in that number 60 machine, and Joe Hutchings is the fourth driver to have taken hold of that car. And now sliding through, nosing it into the tire wall. Doesn't appear to be too bad. Brandon Stoher started. Go ahead.
I said hardly any damage.
Yeah. Brandon Stoher started in that car. Peyton Sweet was driving that number 60 while we were in our hour break. I believe, he's got an engine issue. There you see the smoke. So that 60 is going to need a tow and a fast repair right after Hutchings gets in the car.
Ain't that a kick in the knackers?
Sammy DeGroot right there. As I had mentioned, with that number 60, Peyton Sweet was in the car for a couple of stints during our 1 hour break during that middle hour. Got out of the car. Michael Rupp was in it when we came back on air. And Joe Hutchings. And here is Josh Ball. Roger,
the one thing I've noticed, Frank, is these teams that have multiple drivers in this section, they're bringing out their heavy hitters to close this piece out. And, as you would do, we always used to do when I was bowling in leagues, your anchor position, that's usually your strongest person. And that's what these teams have gone to. There's a lot more A-class licenses and a lot more drivers flirting with the 2,000 mark as far as iRating that are in the cars right this second. With the exception of the 25 team, Bo Condon has not ever done an official road race in iRacing.
Well, there you go. And he is right now the car directly in front of Josh Ball, who stays in that number 5. So Ball will go the distance just the same way his teammate Greg Maconi did earlier on. Justin White, the normal man up in the race control tower for the ThunderClap Stock Car iRacing Series, is going to be piloting this car tomorrow. Same thing with Roger DeBold during the LMP2 portion of the event tomorrow. And after a little bit of fun was had between the number 3 and the number 12, this White Lightning team, we had seen during that last battle in the final 15 minutes that the 3 was repeatedly using the lights and flashing that number 12, trying to gain a little bit of an advantage, maybe try to get inside Greg Maconi's head a little bit. Well, after the race control did not deem that as fair sporting play, so if you do use the flashing lights in the LMPs at an egregious rate, trying to play mind games with the driver in front of you, you will be parked for the remainder of the event. So that will take effect, obviously, tomorrow morning. The LMPs, not really much you could do with that rule in these Cup cars.
Yeah, I mean, fortunately for the Cup car side of things, the headlights and taillights are just stickers. They're not even decals, they're stickers.
Bryce Hunter coming in for his final stop, surrendering the third position. He will once again, most likely, oh no, he won't go a lap down. So Bryce Hunter will stay on the lead lap. So the top 4 are currently on the lead lap as it sits. Emerson Arden with HyperForce leading the way. Josh Ball second with White Lightning. William Brown with Too Drunk to Race running in third. As Bryce Hunter comes back out onto the racetrack and will take his spot in fourth. A full 2 minutes ahead of Sean Thompson. That would be a lap plus some.
As you do. So let me ask you this, Frank. Do we want to reach out to any of those guys in the White Lightning Discord? And
I think we might want to do that because I'm seeing through here. There's a lot of guys in here. Half of them, I'm not sure who they are. And some of them that we could talk to are, I don't know if they're on the track or if they're even there. So what we're going to do is we are going to
reach out to the driver, the guy that drove the LM.
Well, how about we bring in Roger DeBolt here? Because
even better.
Yeah, so we'll bring Roger DeBolt in as the team spokesman for White Lightning. And Roger, car finished in third in the GT Le Mans segment earlier on today, currently running in second. Not too bad for old White Lightning today.
Do we have Roger?
And of course we go.
Roger may have stepped away. So how about Justin White?
It's funny because pre-race we were talking and Roger said, oh yeah, you guys need me. I'm here. I got you. The one time we go to him, away he is. As we'll now bring Justin White in as the White Lightning team spokesman. Justin, I'll ask you the same thing I tried to ask Roger. Finished third in the GT Le Mans earlier today. Now running in second. Not a bad day for old White Lightning today.
No. Coming off last year's win, we're just trying to do the double repeat, which, you know, of any endurance event is kind of hard, especially when then you add alcohol to it. That's not going to be an easy thing to do. So, and I think most of us are actually under the weather. I'm running almost 101 fever, so we're all
ouch.
Yeah, we're all fighting through some serious adversity right here, even in sim racing world.
How much has Josh talked about how difficult it is to try to manhandle this car around here for just about an hour-long stint, let alone 3?
We're all of the same opinion that the NASCAR type vehicle on a road course sucks.
Oh, you just had it off now. Going into turn 1.
Yep, it's not easy. The tires are slick. They're warm. You know, even on brand new tires, cold tires. You know, this thing is really, really top heavy. So it didn't take one little blink of an eye, and you slide it off down into the end of the wall, and that's all it takes.
Now, going into the LMPs tomorrow, you and Roger have not gotten in one of these cars. I'm assuming you're splitting the duties between the two of you, possibly the three of you with Josh tomorrow?
Yes, sir. We're right now. It looks like Roger's going to run 3, and I'm going to run 3 on that final 6-hour stint. Me and him are really, really comfortable in the Dallara P217 cars. We ran the 24 hours of Daytona last year. We're going to run it this year. But between me and Roger, we run comparable lap times to each other. So, you know, we absolutely can just run them things as hard as we can. And really, it's really hard on that medium downforce package to lose the handle on them. So you just got to be careful on cold tires and just run the snot out of it.
Now, what can we expect from you? Now, we're used to seeing you every single week, but you're up in the race control tower, not on the racetrack. What are we going to be expecting from the man who lays down the law in the ThunderClap series every week?
They're going to see that the man that lays down the law can also drive a car too at the same time. So it's definitely going to be interesting, because trust me, if it wasn't for race control, I'd be racing on Wednesdays, because this whole crew is fun to race with.
Laying down the law on Wednesday, laying down the lap times here tomorrow. Justin White with White Lightning. Good luck tomorrow, and try to help your driver finish out here in second.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you guys.
So that was Justin White. And speaking of the ThunderClap Stock Car iRacing Series, that will be returning here in the not-so-distant future. As looking into, I don't know if you can call it the crystal ball, but looking into it, we will be starting up on the 1st of March, so a little bit more than a month from now. We will be we'll be broadcasting the open qualifying as well as the dual races for the ThunderClap Stock Car iRacing Series. A lot of rule changes that we'll get to as qualifying approaches, and we'll explain a lot to you, but I'm excited for the open qualifying that we're going to be doing on March 1st. We get a chance to see everybody out on the track, isolated, get to shine a spotlight on every single driver going into this new season.
And that's something that, they had talked about doing last season for the Daytona race. We unfortunately were brought on a little bit too late to really make that happen. But a lot of behind-the-scenes talks have gone on. Oh, wow. Somebody just got it all wrong.
Sammy DeGroot was the most recent one to go off. We'll see what happened with him here in the number 32.
Yeah, like you mentioned, Frank, is they're going to call every driver. It's going to be a random draw for your qualifying position. You've got a minute to get to you have 1 lap to get to the grid. They're going to call you when the driver in front of you starts their final lap. That's when you start rolling. So as they cross the start-finish line to take the checker, you should be taking the green about half a lap later, and it's going to be rapid fire like that, but we're going to be able to follow both laps of everybody that's going to take time for the... he's having bigger problems. Something's broken that car of DeGroot.
DeGroot off again, this time between the International Horseshoe and the kink. Now DeGroot, I'm sure, is a little bit worn out at the moment. One of his teammates had major connection issues that dropped them down a couple of laps. Another one of his teammates unfortunately had a medical emergency with his mother. So DeGroot is flying solo right now, and he did a lot of the heavy lifting during the GT Le Mans earlier on. So I'm sure he's wiped out right now.
Understandable. We talk about, a 500-mile race being an endurance race. We talk about tomorrow's 6-hour going to be an endurance race. Going into tomorrow, DeGroot's already got at least 4 hours behind the wheel.
And for DeGroot, and to add on to all of that, it's not like it's 5:49 a.m. in the Netherlands where he currently is.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
He went through the night shift racing 2 different cars for about 3.5 hours here tonight, and started the race in this car, was out of it for about 20 minutes before he got called back into action after his teammate disconnected.
And that's a phone call nobody ever wants to make. It, hey, dude, I just had a throughput and I can't get back in. You need to get back in the car. Especially knowing how much time DeGroot put in the GTLM race earlier. He's already wiped by the time he climbs out of the car. Now it's pound of red. Ooh. Bo Condon goes sideways.
Yeah, Bo Condon having a bit of a moment there in the number 25, coming back out onto the racetrack. There he is. Chase Leahy did about the first hour and a half of this race. Dominic Cahart doing the next hour. And now Bo Condon in for the final half hour. He was in, as we had said before, for the first about 45 minutes of the GT Le Mans stint earlier on. As we are now down inside the final 20 minutes here at Daytona. Emerson Arden with a very comfortable 51-second lead over Josh Ball. It's not quite the minute and 10 seconds that that they won the GT Le Mans race in, but you know, I'll take 51 seconds.
Yeah, give them time because they're still stretching that lead out. And at the rate Arden's going, he probably could have over a minute here when the checkered flag flies in about 16 and a half minutes.
And that was a minute and 10-second gap in race win with 3 cautions. There was one on lap 1, and then there were 2 in the middle hour. So there were the field got caught up and squished together again a couple of times, and they still managed to take it by a minute and 10 seconds.
Yeah, and think about it this way, too. The race that you would expect, if you're looking at the 3 races on paper, you're going, yeah, they're going to have cautions during the cup section of the race. Not a single one, not even a hint of one here tonight. So,
and I think part of that, as we start to drift towards the final 15 minutes, I think part of that is from the fact that there is such a performance gap between drivers in these cars that it's so easy to make a mistake, and these cars are so hard to get around here that it's not like you're running the GT Le Mans or you're running the LMP to where the car handles in a way that you would expect it to handle. These guys are having to really wrestle with these cars, and it's a lot easier to make a mistake in one of these than it is in the GT. So you see a lot of guys who are comfortable really pushing the car. Meanwhile, guys that maybe aren't as comfortable really just taking it easy, getting the car around the racetrack.
Well, the biggest difference between this and a GT3 car or GT Le Mans car is the fact that the center of gravity in those GT Le Mans cars, it's about 1.5 feet, almost 2 feet lower to the track than it is in this car. The weight balance front to back is as close to 50-50 as you can get in one of those GT cars. You're not going to get that here in a Cup car. And these engines are so much torquier. They have a lot more low-end grunt than most of the GT-LM feel. An argument could be made for, the BMW and the Mercedes having similar skeletal structure to, a Cup engine. But the fact is, these engines are putting out 650 horsepower, but the torque numbers on these things are still north of 500 foot-pounds. You're not going to see that in anything in a GT car, maybe aside from in the real world a Cadillac or a Corvette. Those are about the only 2 GT cars that you're going to see similar torque numbers, but they're still not where these engines are making them, as Bo Condon has another up.
Yep, that is the 25, currently running in the 6th position. Not too bad for where they were, running in last. A couple of laps down for most of the morning during the first stint. And then as that race had gone on, climbing up just outside the top 10. Now running pretty solidly in the top 10 right now, running in the 6th position. They have a minute and about 40 seconds on the next driver behind them, and there he is. That is Charles Caneda, running in that number 12, a part of the Team Arcs Racing group. Only 2 of their drivers have participated in this stint of the race, or this leg of the race. We have seen, of course, Caneda, Kevin Feemster doing time in this car as well, starting the race, doing about half of the race. Alex Smizkowski finished off the GT Le Mans portion earlier on. The only driver we have not seen from this team is Ryan Pinnell, and I'm assuming that we're going to see him quite a bit tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon, as we get into the LMP2 stint of this race.
Well, this is going to be that coverage, Frank. We're going to cover, similar to how we did today, we're going to cover the first and last hours with the middle pairing kind of just being sights and sounds and following along.
Oh, what we're going to be doing tomorrow, that's what we've done today. What we're going to do tomorrow is we're going to pick up the race from the middle. So we are going to come in at the start of hour number 4, and we'll cover hours 4, 5, and 6. So we'll miss the first 3 hours. However, we will, I'm sure, have plenty of highlights from hours 1 through 3, and we will pick you up in hours 4, 5, and 6 and take you all the way home to the end of this 24 Beers event. Third time that the ThunderClap Stock Car iRacing Series has put this event on. Again, just 1 month before their season starts. It has been quite a day, and I'm sure tomorrow is going to be just the same.
Absolutely. The biggest thing these guys are going to have to keep in mind tomorrow is we were talking with Justin White earlier. It's the medium downforce stock set from iRacing in that car for tomorrow. And I'm not going to say it's impossible to get it wrong, because, trust me, I've done it. But it's going to be a little bit more difficult to get it wrong tomorrow, as opposed to, say, a custom set or the low downforce setting, as you would expect on such a high-speed track as Daytona. Yes, the oval portions are very high speed. You still have to be able to negotiate that infield section. And as we've seen here tonight, that's where most of the mistakes happen. So I'm very happy to find out that they put the medium downforce set in play for tomorrow, so that drivers with a little bit less road course experience, as opposed to others, are going to still have a puncher's chance at a solid finish tomorrow.
That still doesn't mean it's going to be easy, especially in that road course section,
Definitely
because with that, it's off of the higher downforce, so the wings are going to be a little bit flatter, so getting on the gas could still be a little sketchy for some guys. But it'll be a faster race for sure. There'll be more laps completed. As a matter of fact, we've done more laps in the Cup cars tonight than we did in the GT Le Mans cars earlier on today, and that's because we, again, had the 3 cautions, so we slowed the race down a couple of times. As Emerson Arden now about to begin lap 95 here in this 3-hour run, as he has Bo Condon just behind him, just put Bo Condon down another lap. Condon giving him plenty of breathing space going down into turn number 1. Charles Caneda on and off of pit road in that number 12.
And Condon's doing the right thing after the race leader flashed by him. He's trying to follow the 57 around to learn where his braking points are, where his line is, to try to improve his own skill set. And that's really, if you're not the best driver in the sim, that's really all you can do is, try to use every time you're behind the wheel as a learning experience of how can I improve my skill set for next time. And that's what Condon's doing, and I applaud him for doing that.
That's Justin Clapper off. As Clapper having yet another moment. Seen him have a couple of these, and again, this is, you would expect guys to be having issues right now, as this is the part of the race where it's not only you're getting tired from running this car. Some of these guys have run 6 hours And all of these guys are a little inebriated. So mistakes are going to start creeping in, especially now.
And I don't know if you touched on it earlier, Frank, but there's a certain amount of prepackaged alcohol that these guys have to consume.
Yeah, I believe everyone needs to drink a 12-pack, and that's the mandatory minimum. So everyone has to drink a 12-pack.
A 12-pack of 12-ounce beers.
Yes.
And it doesn't have to be beer. It can be hard seltzers or, hard. I think Mountain Dew even has a hard liquor out there now. Or a hard canned beverage, I should say. But it has to be pre-packaged. You can't just mix a rum and Coke and call it good.
Now, we had that great battle for third/second is what it ended up becoming at the end of the GT Le Mans segment earlier on today. We now have the same exact thing, but here in the Next Gen Cup cars. William Brown has lost a considerable amount of time to Bryce Hunter. Now, part of that probably being the fact that William Brown, we assumed, was about a lap and a half short of being able to make the finish without coming in one more time. Bryce Hunter has now closed this lead down to about 3/4 of a second between the two. That is Brown in the 69 in front, Bryce Harper in the 6 behind. Harper.
It's not the baseball player.
Oh, there it is. Hunter, I knew I was going to say it, and I think I have a couple of times already. Hunter, the last time around prior to this lap, was about 3.5 seconds quicker, as now they catch up to Justin Clapper, making Hunter's job a little bit easier as far as catching him.
And Brown's job a whole heck of a lot. I think Clapper doesn't realize that they're a lap ahead in pole position.
I think he might. I think it's also part of the problem of this type of racing is trying to find a place to get out of the way. As Clapper
hasn't come off his normal racing line at all.
In the infield section, it is a little bit difficult to do. And again, that might not be Justin Clapper in the seat. We did have that we did have that happen during the GT Le Mans race, so that might not be Clapper in the seat. He may have his name on the car, but he might not be the one driving it. As now,
in the 69, 63. Never mind.
63.
Yeah, no, that's. If it's not Justin Clapper, it's somebody at Justin Clapper's house.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He had relinquished the seat earlier on in the GT Le Mans race, and somebody else was driving in his sim rig. As they're getting very, very close coming off of this corner here, and that at the beginning of this lap, Bryce Hunter was right on the back of William Brown. This lap that he spent behind that 63 has cost him 2 seconds.
I'm surprised nobody's queued up their mic in sim and said something yet.
There it goes.
Now he gets to run. Not really.
Being on the outside in the kink is not where you want to be either. They make it through clean. 63 stays ahead.
It's only because Hunter didn't want to put his car in a bad situation and bang fenders.
And there's no reason
You
for
can
Bryce
tell
Hunter.
he's getting frustrated, though.
There's no reason for him to really push the issue here. And yes, I agree, he is getting frustrated. You can see how close he got there. There's only 3 minutes left in this race, less than 3 minutes left in this race, and you have a full lap over your closest competitor. So while third place might be nice, starting fourth isn't all that bad either.
No, it's not. But when you figure...
It doesn't give you the right line going into turn one, but I'll take
right.
this.
Oh, please.
Well, now he doesn't have to fight him anymore.
Whoever is behind the wheel of that car, we're going to start calling him Hollywood because he was looking out his mirror. You're looking in the mirror just as much as he was looking out the windshield.
There's your second place runner right now, Josh Ball. He has run the entirety of this stint, and that will conclude his 24 Beers of Daytona, as we heard Justin White confirm earlier today, Roger DeBold and Justin White will be running in the LMP2s tomorrow. They will split the driving duties, 3 hours tomorrow.
And what team did you say finished second in the earlier race?
That would have been. Well, it would not have been this team. That would have been the 24 Beers team, the number 3.
Oh.
White Lightning finished third, though.
Right, but what I was trying to do the quick math in my head. So, with HyperForce winning the first stint, arguably going to win this one, that's going to put that White Lightning team going into the 6 hour in a quasi second place.
If you want to count the finishing positions the same way motocross would do for a triple crown race, count the finishing positions. Whoever has the lowest number at the end of the weekend has the win. And right now, I think Emerson Arden, I think it would be very, very nice for him to help everybody out here and just park the bus right now, because with 30 seconds left in this race, this could be the final lap.
Well, he is just now coming out onto NASCAR 1 and 2 as he heads towards the super stretch for what we think will be the final time. Yep, he's not going to get another lap in. That checker flag's going to fly before he gets back to the start finish line.
He definitely parked the bus in the infield. Contact for third position. Brown gets his way back through. Here comes Hunter through. Hunter got a straight run coming off the corner. Third place swaps.
It expires too.
Yep, time has expired coming through NASCAR 4. Emerson Arden and HyperForce sweep the pour before the 24. They sweep the first day of the 24 Beers at Daytona. HyperForce wins the GT Le Mans and the NASCAR NextGen.
And I think Brown's got problems right now because that car is nowhere near up to pace, and I'm seeing sparks flying from underneath the 69 right now.
Not seeing that he had gotten into anything. He might be out of fuel.
Yeah, that would explain it.
He's still under power, but he might be trying to save to get around. We were questioning whether or not he was going to be able to make it. You could hear him letting off. He knows also he's got 1 minute and 40 seconds back to Sean Thompson in 5th. There is no pressure right now. Oh, tried to turn into the corner. The 4 was there.
And hits the tires.
Riding on board with him there.
Oh.
Josh Ball has crossed the line. He will finish 2nd. Bryce Hunter comes home in 3rd. As boy, oh boy, what a night here at Daytona as we see William Brown coming off of the final corner while his teammate was bowling.
That car for Brown is just barely still running.
While his teammate was out bowling tonight, William Brown was putting in 3 tough hours of work here at Daytona, and it somehow finishes. Here is how the pass happened. Bryce Hunter on William Brown going on to the final lap. It's Hunter on the outside. There comes Brown back in. Brown wide on corner exit, and that was all the room that Hunter needed. And then after that, Brown effectively shuts it down, knowing that, yeah, that was no point in trying to get him back, as we'll see if we can get we'll get some interviews in here. Trying to work our way through and see who we got. And Tony, I believe you are with our race winner, Emerson Arden, as we speak.
Emerson Arden, you guys put on a clinic today so far in the first 6 hours of the 24 Beers of Daytona. Won the first segment, won the second segment. You guys are making a statement right now that if they want to win this race tomorrow, they've got to go through Team HyperForce.
Absolutely. It has been an absolute blast to plan out this event. And that's really what it took. It was planning before the alcohol intake began, and just trying to stick to that plan after the alcohol intake began. Because we were only supposed to, or we are only required to drink 6, before midnight tonight. I drank 7, and I stopped an hour before the race. Honestly, I mean, I know I dominated and I won. It didn't really help, man, because this is probably the hardest stint of the 3. A 675 horsepower, 3,400 pound stock car with no traction control. It's incredibly difficult to go mistake free for like 3 hours. It is nuts, especially after 7.
Now, talk us through the process of how you guys determined who was driving where and what. What was going through your mind when you found out you drew the short straw and had to do the Cup car tonight?
I'm gonna be real. This kind of happened at the pour. We just kind of showed up. I said, hey, to Balliet, what car do you want to drive? And he said, I'll drive the GT. I'm like, okay. Stock cars on road courses have probably been my favorite car track combination for years. Like NASCAR to Game Inside Line, I was wheeling like those cars on like Sonoma and just having a blast. So when I saw my option were the LMP2, which I already ran in the 24, or the NextGen, I couldn't be happier. And Max, he didn't get to do the 24, the iRacing 24 with us, so he was more than thrilled to do the LMP2. But yeah, it was. We just ran the 4 hours in the pour, and we realized, well, we're running 3 hour stints tonight. We don't have to do driver switches. Everybody else is doing driver switches. In the GTE, that adds 20 seconds to your stop. Here, I think it's also another 20 seconds. And all we did was keep the same driver for 3 hours. Try to stay consistent, because I wasn't the fastest out there. Was it Chambers? Definitely was fastest. Bryce was even faster than me. There's so many guys in the field that were faster than me. Especially the first, and I got dotted up by the 4K I rating that Chambers was, but we just stayed consistent and clean.
Well, I mean, you mentioned tonight you didn't have to do a driver swap because it was only 3 hour stints.
Correct.
Tomorrow, it's a different story.
Mm-hmm.
You want to let us in on the game plan for the LMP2 race tomorrow?
Sure thing. Well, the ideal thing would be Max to do all 6 hours, but of course that's asking a lot. No, we never said that. But Max did do the 4 hours in the pour in the LMP2, and we're like, perfect. You'll start the car. Balliet, he's probably our best guy just all around. So we'll have him close out the car. I think there's going to be a red flag tomorrow at the halfway point, which is, I believe, we are going to come in with the coverage. So at the red flag, we'll just do our driver switch.
Yeah, that's a mandatory beer run. But again, Emerson, congratulations on putting in work tonight. Who do you need to thank before we let you go celebrate this second victory on the day with your team?
I just gotta thank my teammates, Balliet and Max Service. You haven't even seen him yet, but he'll start on the poll tomorrow. But Joshua Balliet, Max Service, two great friends of mine. We just became of age to drink, so we were thrilled. Well, I saw this event last year, but couldn't do it. Now we could this year. So thrilled to do it. And of course, all of our partners at HyperForce, Don Wheaton, Abruzzi, Razor, and a lot. My Discord, the Extreme World Racing League, that's what EWRL stands for. I have Pit Stop TV on the car. I broadcast with Pit Stop TV. My boss, Andrew Cardinale IV, he just had a baby boy.
Congratulations.
Less than 2 weeks ago. So huge shout out to Andrew for one letting me do this, especially because there was a broadcast tonight, and then two, just for being a great boss. And thank you guys for the amazing broadcast, because I thoroughly enjoyed it. Granted, I mean, I was I was indulging on the alcohol, but I was having a great time watching the GTE broadcast. I can't wait to watch this one back. Again, as someone who's also broadcasted for quite a few years, I've really enjoyed the product that y'all are doing here at Sim Racing Media.
No, thank you, sir, and best of luck to your team tomorrow in the 6 hours to close out the 24 beers of Daytona.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. Y'all should indulge on some beers as well. I hope y'all are, but it's a lot of fun.
Years,
Appreciate it, guys.
I've been on the wagon 10 years, and Frank doesn't drink, so.
Oh man.
Tonight's beverage on the broadcast side is Pepsi Cola.
Pepsi Cola? Hey, I mean, something's better than nothing, right?
Absolutely. Emerson, congratulations. We'll see you tomorrow.
Appreciate it, guys. Take care.
And Frank, I believe you've got second place Josh Ball with you now.
I do have second place finisher Josh Ball with me. Josh, a solid run. Had to work your way back up through the field after a misfortune earlier on. But then battling with Bryce Hunter and also with William Brown got you up into second.
Yeah, we had that stupid mistake there pretty early on and spun out, and I think we dropped to like 10th or something, or maybe even further. But yeah, it was kind of a grind after that, and the team had me doing some saving on fuel just to make sure that we could make it like in the first couple stints of the race, just so we had a lap or two ahead of everybody else. So that was kind of just save and avoid people that were spinning out and stuff like that. But yeah, luckily we're able to keep it on the track after that pretty much and get up to P2.
A very solid day for White Lightning overall, finishing third with Greg Maconi in the GT Le Mans cars earlier on today, and now P2. I guess if you go by Supercross Triple Crown rules, you guys are currently second as the point standings sit right now. What's the plan going into the GT Le Mans cars? We know Justin White and DeBold are going to be splitting the race even. What's the goals for tomorrow?
Yeah, the goals for tomorrow, Justin's going to start for us, and I'll probably be the crew chief / spotter through the morning, and then Greg may take over with Roger after that. But hopefully, just we put ourselves in the best position we can be in. First place either way had the pole. So, second is the best we can start. So we were able to get there, and hopefully Justin can just make it happen for us in the beginning.
All right. Anybody you want to thank before we let you go?
Yeah, just, everybody that put on the show out here, and Justin for inviting me, and, you guys for coming on and doing the broadcast. I'm sure it's a very long day for you guys as well for 2 days. So, but yeah, that's about it. I appreciate you guys having me.
All right, Josh, congratulations, and we will see you tomorrow.
Thanks.
And that will now leave our third place finisher, Bryce Hunter, in here with you now.
Bryce Hunter, in the closing laps of this thing, you had to have been showing remarkable patience as you got trapped behind the 63 for a couple of laps. And then what went through your mind when you saw the 69 go off in front of you?
Man, it was more of a don't get too excited. Don't put yourself in a situation where you're going to be in the same situation he's in. Basically, I mean, it was just patience, and the 63 car, whoever that was really. You can ask my team. I was getting pretty hot. I was getting. I gave him one more corner, him doing that before he was going to be in the wall. But going back to William, I feel for him, man. I was, I was catching him really quick, and then I saw he went off, and I was like, just be patient. So that's how that went.
Well, Bryce, again, you showed remarkable patience there. I know had it been me behind the wheel, I probably would have been kicking these. Forget waiting till the race is over. I would have been kicking while in the car. But when it came right down to it, you didn't fold, you didn't buckle, and you timed your pit stop just about perfect to not have to save in the closing laps. How big was that for you guys?
Well, it honestly goes all the way back to I had a speeding penalty about the hour and a half mark left in the race, a 40-second hold. So we topped.
Question Frank and I were wondering.
Yeah, so it all started pretty much there. So we topped off fuel, and that got us to go that extra, 4 to 5 laps than everyone else, 3 to 4, whatever how much it was, and then we got tires, filled up the tank, and then the car was just a rocket ship after that. I had grip all over the place. There was no doubt in my mind that I would have catch third, but that pitting when I did really helped us, because I knew as soon as we came off pit road and took the outlap and hit the checkered to clip the outlap, it said field, and I was like, all right, I'm going. I'm not letting off. I'm not doing anything. So that's pretty much how that went.
They just released the starting grid for tomorrow. You guys going to be starting inside row number 2 in the LMP 2 race to close this thing out. We've asked the other 2 drivers. You want to tip your hand as to what the game plan is for that?
No, because I am starting that race as well.
There you go.
So I just haven't gone over it with my team yet. So even if I say no, I don't even know. So,
Hey, Bryce, who do you need to thank before we let you go celebrate?
I want to thank Justin White for talking about this event and letting me join. Light Beer Mafia for picking me up last minute, and hopefully I made them proud. I'd like to thank my sponsors, TNC Lawn Landscaping, Eric's Carpet Care, and then this is basically running for my grandma who passed away last year. So this is pretty much just for her.
All right, Bryce Hunter, congratulations on a podium here in the Cup race. We'll see you tomorrow in the LMP2s.
Sounds good. See you then.
And Frank, with that, we've got another one in the books, my friend.
Yes, we do. Is one heck of a day of racing, 6 hours here today, and we will have another 6 hours tomorrow. Again, we will be broadcasting starting a little bit later on in the day. We will have been, we will come in at the halfway point. We're not going to get the hour break in the middle of the race the way we've gotten today. So we will be taking you through the final 3 hours of the 24 beers at Daytona. Boy, Tony, it's been a long day of racing, and it'll be by 3:00 p.m. tomorrow Eastern Time. It'll all be over.
And that's only my first of 2 broadcasts tomorrow.
Yep. Yeah,
as we bring back Sunday Night NASCAR tomorrow night with their Clash at the Coliseum.
Yep, as you guys have seen, scrolling down at the bottom, our brand new ticker scroll down at the bottom. So that keep watching that. That'll certainly have a lot of information on there that you guys can use about Sim Racing Media coming up in the future. So for my broadcast partner tonight, Tony Trapasso, for my broadcast partner earlier on today, Liam Ervig, my name is Frank Marchese. Thank you very much, and we will see you all tomorrow for the conclusion of the 24 beers at Daytona. 11:55 p.m. a.m. Eastern Time, is when we will be live. Have a great evening, everybody, and we will see you to wrap this thing up at noon tomorrow.